In my past life, the moment I finally retired, my son practically begged me to babysit my grandson. I felt pity for the struggling young couple, so I slaved away at every single chore, and even handed over my entire pension to them. But once my grandson hit 3 years old, my daughter-in-law slapped a bill on the table, claiming that if I lived under their roof, I had to pay. She insisted all family expenses be split 50-50. She demanded I reimburse every cent for the last 3 years, even tracking a single dumpling I swallowed, calculated down to precisely zero point 0.8 yuan. I stared at the bill and tried to reason with my son, but he coldly told me to find a part-time gig to pay them back. He was terrified of upsetting his precious wife, casually muttering, "Look, Mom, just view it as a bit of daily exercise. Working a part-time job isn't going to kill you, and you can keep subsidizing our lifestyle." Suddenly, I opened my eyes again. I've been reborn to the exact moment my daughter-in-law Wang Li demanded the 50-50 split. This time, I'll embrace her rules, so why aren't they laughing, Mom? Get over here. Right now, I have something to say to you. My daughter-in-law Wang Li's tone wasn't an invitation. It was a sharp, arrogant command. Freshly reborn, I heard those biting words and felt a wave of disorientation. What was happening? This atmosphere, this toxic tone, it was all hauntingly familiar. I have truly been reborn. Back to the very day my daughter-in-law proposed the 50-50 split and forced me to repay my debt of living expenses. Why are you stalling? I'm telling you right now, don't you dare play dumb with me. Wang Li impatiently slapped that stack of documents against the plush armrest of the sofa. I have some rules to establish regarding the financial upkeep of this house. We need to settle these accounts once and for all. She immediately hurled that stack of bills in front of me. Just look at all these years you've spent here. Every bite you eat and everything you touch belongs to us. We're drowning under immense pressure, juggling a kid and a massive mortgage. We can't just keep supporting a useless person indefinitely. Starting from this very second, all household expenses will be split 50-50. My hands trembled as I retrieved the stack of papers. Sure enough, it was a word-for-word repeat of my previous life. Every year, every month, and every single day. How many cherries I consumed, not to mention. That afternoon, when the supermarket had a clearance sale, Wang Li forced me to pay for the surplus intended for my grandson's fruit puree. I only ate the few bruised leftovers that were on the brink of raw, and there were also those few measly oranges. Even for breakfast, one particular day, I simply ate the extra one they abandoned in the pot. A single dumpling worth a pitiful 0.8 yuan. The monthly pension I surrendered to them, my relentless labor raising my grandson day and night, and the mortgage payments I subsidized were conveniently omitted. Rage surged through my veins. A toxic blend of fury and bone-chilling betrayal. It was this exact cursed bill. In my previous life, after an explosive confrontation with her, I took it to my son Lin Weiye hoping for a shred of reason. But my son acted like a pathetic, spineless coward, ultimately ordering me to stop causing a scene, and even had the audacity hooked me up with a grueling night cleaning shift so I could use my sweat-earned cash to settle this debt. Wang Li, you're seriously going to nickel and dime me back when you were begging on your knees, pleading for me to move in and take care of you. For these past few years, I've slaved away like an ox for this family, rearing your child and maintaining this entire house, even stuffing your pockets with my own retirement fund. I shifted my gaze toward my wife. You're actually holding a single 0.8 yuan dumpling against me. My voice cracked with emotion. The dam finally burst. Wang Li merely sneered, lifting her chin with arrogant disdain. Look, Mom, don't be so dramatic about it. Isn't Weiye going to be stuck looking after you later anyway? But the shelter, the meals, and the utilities you consume are all funded by our actual hard-earned salaries. Even blood brothers keep their ledgers clean, let alone mothers and their daughters-in-law. Wang Li was shameless to a truly sickening degree. My chest throbbed with a searing anger. I wanted to shred this insulting bill into confetti, to ruthlessly interrogate the venomous woman standing before me, and to beat some goddamn sense into that coward hiding in the other room, that pathetic, unfilial son of mine. But I stopped myself. I've hit the 55-year mark now. My body is a shell of its former self due to years of backbreaking toil. Today, I just finished a soul-crushing day of endless housework. My arms are so leaden I can scarcely hoist them, while they stand there youthful and robust. If this turns physical, I haven't a prayer of winning. I might even trigger a repeat of my previous life's tragic end. I must maintain my composure. Mom, Lily is speaking to you. My son Lin Weiye, that brat, had stealthily slithered out of the bedroom at some point, looming right behind Wang Li like a shadow. His gaze was shifty and evasive. Yet he forced a tone of feigned impartiality. Lily is doing this for the sake of our family. Transparent. Bookkeeping is the only way to dodge drama later on. See, Mom Lily is just so thorough. She even archived all the records. What a farce dodging drama. What a pathetic joke meticulous. I dug my nails into my palm, using the sting to stifle the bile and the urge to shriek. When I finally looked up, I forced a mask of humble panicked compliance onto my face. Oh, I see. Let me take a look. I traced the exact spot Wang Li had tapped, sliding my finger over that zero point 0.8 yuan dumpling entry. I hesitated for a heartbeat, then nodded with frantic submission. Lily truly is quite the domestic mastermind. These ledgers are so precise. They put my own efforts to shame. I absolutely must settle this debt. I definitely will. Hearing this, Wang Li basked in the glow of my total surrender. The corner of her mouth quirked up in a smug smirk, and she shot a triumphant look at Lin Weiye, as if bragging, "See, your mother is a pushover." Lin Weiye visibly exhaled, his tension evaporating. He stepped forward, his voice dripping with condescension. "Mom, I'm glad you've finally seen reason. We're struggling too, you know. If you're short on funds and can't clear the balance up front, I've actually brainstormed a fix." He trailed off, calculating my reaction. "The local property office is hiring a night janitor. The schedule is super flexible, and the cash flow is instant. You can handle the kid and the kitchen by day, then pull a few hours of labor at night. It won't disrupt the chores and you'll be making bank. 152, it's a total win-win situation. It's a total win-win scenario. Just view it as a bit of healthy cardio for your joints. Cardio for my joints night shift. Janitorial work. Slaving from 10 p.m. until 4 a.m. Scrubbing every public square inch of the entire complex. That backbreaking manual labor was brushed off by my own flesh and blood as mere exercise. A violent wave of revulsion hit me, making me feel like I was going to be physically sick. This is the precious son I poured my soul into raising. Sucking my pension dry and stealing my labor wasn't enough. He wants to wring out every last drop of my vitality, just to convert it into cash for their bottomless greed. About that job opening. I cast my gaze downward, donning a mask of timid submission. I'm getting up there in age. I'm terrified my body will cave under night shifts. I'll explore some other avenues and see if there's any other nocturnal gig I can handle. Whatever, Wang Li scowled, visibly annoyed by my supposed pickiness. Lin Weiye, sensing he might snap the tether, hastily stepped in to play peacemaker. Fine, Mom, you just sleep on it for now. Regardless, I'll keep this opportunity on standby for you. They ceased their immediate pressure, convinced I had already swallowed the debt whole. In their twisted reality, I was already a lamb led to the slaughter. Wang Li clung intimately to Lin Weiye's arm, her voice suddenly becoming sickeningly sweet. Hubby, see, problem solved. Mom is actually being sensible, and we really are looking out for her, aren't we? Once Mom starts grinding and brings in a paycheck, not only can we kill that mortgage faster, but our lifestyle is going to be way more bougie. Exactly, Lin Weiye beamed, chiming in. The two of them looked like a blissfully devoted couple mapping out a dream, completely oblivious to me still sitting right there in the silence. Anyway, Mom hit the sack early. The baby needs his milk and supplements at 6 a.m. sharp. Don't slack off, Wang Li barked her final orders, practically dragging Lin Weiye as they retreated gleefully back to the master bedroom. The door was left slightly ajar, even though remarkably, they attempted to whisper their feverish, greedy scheming, still leaked out into the hall. Hubby, if Mom actually takes that janitor gig, that's $2,800 a month. That stacks up to nearly $30,000 in just 10 months. Yeah, that's way more than the debt she's carrying. Plus, we're still holding on to Mom's pension card. That's a guaranteed $4,000 plus hitting the account every month. With that extra cushion, our financial stress is practically gone. It's more than just a little breathing room. We can finally start making real moves. My car is ancient and screaming for an upgrade. And haven't you been dying for that European getaway? Once Mom grinds for a few months, and we hoard enough of her cash. Hubby, you really know how to treat your girl. Oh, one more thing, we need to make it clear. That her paychecks go straight to me for safekeeping. She's getting senile, she'll only blow it on useless junk. Their voices eventually faded into a mumble, but those words felt like glowing red-hot iron skewers, repeatedly branding the skin of my chest. This is my loyal son, and my sweet daughter-in-law. In my previous life, it was that 0 point 0.8 yuan dumpling that finally shattered me. I had an explosive showdown with Wang Li and ran to Lin Weiye begging for a shred of justice, only to be blindsided by an even more agonizing betrayal. But this time I'm changing the script. I stood up and retreated toward my bedroom, a cramped 6 square meter converted storage closet. I secured the evidence and the recording I just captured, then snatched up my ID and household register, slipping out under the veil of night. I've already played my role in their pathetic little play. The obedient, spineless, easily exploited mother-in-law. Now, while they're drunk on their own arrogance, I'm going to ghost them without leaving a single trace. You want to fly to Europe? You want a shiny new ride? Keep dreaming in that empty house. Without a single shred of hesitation, I pulled up an app on my phone and booked a 5-star suite right next to the bank. I used to view luxury like this as a terrifying waste, but now it feels as if the necessary ritual to celebrate my rebirth. The plush velvet carpet, the blissful silence of the room, and the massive cloud-like comfort of the bed. I lay there, though sleep didn't claim me right away, In my past life, until the very day I drew my last breath, I hadn't lived a single day for my own sake. In this life, I'm going to reclaim every lost moment. As for that ungrateful son and his toxic wife, I'll just step back and watch them tear each other apart. At the crack of dawn, I made a beeline for the bank. Standing at the counter, I stated firmly, "Report my card as lost." Minutes later, I had a brand new card secured in my hand. This month's pension was safely diverted to my control. Gazing at the credit notification flashing on my phone, I let out a long, genuine sigh of pure relief. Financial independence is the true birth of freedom. The very second I powered my phone back on, it began vibrating like a frantic dying insect. Dozens of frantic missed calls, and my WeChat inbox was absolutely exploding. "Mom, where the hell are you? The baby has been shrieking for hours. Breakfast hasn't even been touched yet. Lin Ye's mother. What on earth is wrong with you?" Vanishing into thin air first thing in the morning. "Get your ass back here this instant. The congee isn't even on the stove." "Mom, can you stop with the dramatics?" "Lily is livid. Get back here and beg for her forgiveness." Voice notes of my grandson's ear-splitting wailing, clanging audio of pots and pans being violently knocked over, and their frantic, venomous cursing. It all crashed into my world at once. I listened and watched it all with a cold, blank expression. This is the real reason they can't survive without me. It was never about love. It's just that they're 24/7 on call. Backbreaking free nanny suddenly went on strike. I let out a sharp sneer, and with a casual tap of my finger, I blocked my son's WeChat and his phone number. I gave my daughter-in-law the exact same treatment. The world instantly fell into a blissful silence. Barely 10 minutes later, an unknown number began calling me persistently. I already knew exactly who was on the other end. I pressed accept. Wang Li's shrill, piercing voice nearly shattered my eardrums. "Lin Ye's mother. Have you completely lost your damn mind? Blocking us like we're strangers. What the hell kind of game are you playing? Do you have any idea what a disaster the house is right now? The baby's throat is hoarse from screaming. Lin Ye is about to be late for work, and I haven't even touched my makeup kit yet. All because you failed to prep breakfast or drag us out of bed. Is this whole tantrum really over that petty 50-50 split from last night? Are you actually holding a grudge? You old hag, how can you be so incredibly spiteful? Stirring up this much drama over such a trivial issue. Drag your pathetic self back here this instant. Or don't you dare act surprised when we cut you off for good." I can practically visualize her with her hair in a wild mess, and her face distorted into a hideous ugly mask. I waited patiently until she paused to catch her breath, before I finally spoke up with cold, slow precision. "Wang Li, you've got it all twisted." The explosive noise on the other end went dead silent. I don't hold a single ounce of resentment toward the 50-50 split. Quite the contrary, actually. I believe your logic was absolutely flawless. Going Dutch is the only reasonable way to live. As you said, even brothers keep their ledgers clean. So it's only fitting for a mother and daughter-in-law to do the same. So I'm in total agreement. And I have decided to strictly enforce your new policy. What exactly do you think you're saying? What I mean to say is, from the very second you demanded that split last night, we officially became two entirely separate households. Wang Li's voice was now trembling with pure uncertainty. You go ahead and live your life, while I move on and live mine. I'm done occupying a corner of your house, so naturally I no longer need to cover rent or split the daily household expenses with you. I've already deactivated and replaced my pension card. Since we're going 50-50, handle that mortgage on your own. As for your brats crying, your empty stomachs, or your work schedule that is strictly your burden, why should an outsider like me be bothered by any of it? You, how dare you, that is your own flesh and blood grandson. This is where you belong, this is your home. That is your own son you're talking about. No, that is your home. I haven't invested a single cent of equity into that property. I slaved away raising your son for 3 years for zero pay, and you even had the audacity to charge me for the privilege. Now you have the nerve to demand I pay for the honor of living there. I simply can't afford a home or a grandson this expensive. From this moment on, we are strictly 50-50. Don't you dare call me unless it's a life or death emergency. I'm busy. Busy? What could a useless old hag like you possibly be busy with? You senile old witch. So what if we're splitting things down the middle? I didn't stick around to endure the rest of her toxic vitriol. I terminated the call instantly, and blacklisted this number as well. Then I systematically silenced every social media notification that they could use to track my whereabouts. The world was finally bathed in absolute peace. I had no intention of returning to that prison. My husband passed away years ago, leaving me to raise my son as a struggling single mother. I actually owned a modest property in my own name. Living at my son's house was never a necessity, but I knew those two vultures would come knocking. So to ensure my tranquility remained undisturbed, I headed straight to a travel agency I'd previously scouted. Right there in the office, I booked an elite, high-end Sonia luxury leisure tour. I settled the full payment and signed the contract. In one decisive sweeping motion, The next morning, wheeling a sleek brand new suitcase, decked out in a sun hat and designer shades, I arrived at the rendezvous point ahead of schedule. Observing the other women around me with glowing expectant faces, gossiping about the endless blue sky and the ocean, I suddenly felt a long-lost intoxicating sense of relief. This is exactly what a real life is supposed to look like. We touched down in Sanya, golden sunshine, pristine beaches, crashing waves, and lush coconut groves. The entire landscape was as ethereal as a dream. I drifted along with the tour group, mirroring the carefree vibes of the other ladies, donning a vibrant dress to sashay along the shore, dipping my toes into the crystal clear seawater, and savoring the sweetness of fresh tropical fruits. When evening fell, I even treated myself to a cultural gala. I snapped a flurry of photos and flaunted them on my feed. When my son and his wife catch wind of my new life, they're undoubtedly gnashing their teeth in a jealous rage. They've been frantically hijacking other people's phone numbers in a desperate attempt to reach me. I simply swapped in a fresh SIM card and wiped them from my reality. I can clearly visualize the absolute unmitigated chaos in that house thousands of miles away. Deprived of their 24/7 on-call servant, Wang Li is forced to juggle her career and a screaming infant. She must be drowning in her own incompetence. Without my pension to cushion their fall, Lin Weiye felt the crushing weight of the mortgage skyrocket. The two of them must be at each other's throats constantly, drowning in their own complaints, but none of that matters to me now. I'll handle their pathetic drama later after I've enjoyed my life. Reclining on the balcony of this luxury ocean view hotel, soaked in the warm, humid sea breeze, I finally felt the weight, the soul-crushing burden of a lifetime evaporate into thin air. I'm not merely someone's mother, not just a convenient daughter-in-law, and certainly not some on-call grandmother. I am simply me, this cold-blooded 50-50 split. I'm actually grateful they used the most heartless method imaginable to provide the perfect excuse and courage to shatter my chains. Once I had satisfied my wanderlust, I returned from Sanya to retreat into my old house. I hadn't even managed 2 hours of rest before the door was hammered with a violent bang. "Mom, I know you're skulking in there. Open this door." My son stood there looking haggard and drained, his facial expression twisted and hideously ugly. My daughter-in-law, Wang Li, was already spewing venom. "You old hag. Exactly what are you trying to hide from? You had the audacity to gallivant in Sanya for half a month, abandoning a catastrophic mess for us to drown in. What kind of mother-in-law or mother acts like this?" The neighbors began poking their heads out, fueled by curiosity. The couple's expressions turned even more awkward and strained. Wang Li seized the moment to broadcast my alleged sins. "Everyone come and see this for yourselves. How did I get cursed with a mother-in-law like this? Our young family is overwhelmed and drowning in work. She swore she would come lend us a helping hand, but instead she ditched us for Sonia to play around, and even shamelessly embezzled our family's money. Not only did she leave a disaster for me to manage, but instead of supporting her own flesh and blood, she caused us to nearly default on this month's crushing mortgage payment." The neighbors were instantly manipulated by her performance, with two of them even chiming in to scold me. I calmly checked the security feed on the door lock, then dialed property management and building security. With a sudden sharp crack, I violently yanked the door wide open. Wang Li and Lin Weiye stumbled forward, nearly collapsing inside. Their faces were still distorted with entitlement and rage, mixed with a flicker of genuine shock. The neighbors' collective gaze instantly locked onto the scene, brimming with judgment and curiosity. "Mom, who the hell are you calling mom?" I definitely lack the status to be Lin Weiye's mother, nor do I have the stomach to be Wang Li's mother-in-law. I lunged forward, my gaze sharp as a razor piercing Wang Li first. "Wang Li, what lies did you just spew? That I embezzled your family's funds? That I abandoned you in a crisis?" Before she could even open her mouth to deflect, I snatched my phone from my pocket, cranked the volume to the absolute limit, and blasted the audio recording I had archived. "Every single household expense will be split 50-50. You occupy this room, so that's $1,000 a month in rent. For these past 3 years, every scrap you've consumed under this roof, we have meticulously documented. Your debt totals 28,363 yuan and 50 cents. We'll settle for an even 28,000. You ate a single 0.8 yuan dumpling at home. And that is going on the ledger too." When the audio hit the 0.8 yuan dumpling part, among the gathered crowd of neighbors, a collective wave of shocked gasps and disgusted whispers erupted like a volcano. I cut the recording short, leveling a finger at Wang Li and Lin Weiye, whose faces were turning ghost white, and addressed the crowd with raw heartbreak. "Everyone listen. Hear this for yourselves. This is my precious daughter-in-law." The moment I retired, they were the ones groveling for me to move in, to slave away raising their newborn son. It has been 3 agonizing years. I labored like a beast of burden, slaved over every chore, reared their child from birth, and never touched a cent of my 4,000 plus pension. I poured every penny into their mortgage, and their daily survival and my reward. the very second my grandson hit age 3 and was ready for kindergarten. She slapped me with an itemized bill, even for eating a single 0.8 yuan dumpling in my own home. She demanded I pay her back. She wanted a 50-50 split on my life. She wanted to charge me rent for a closet. This is their twisted definition of family support. My glare shifted to Lin Waiye, the son I sacrificed my entire life to raise. My voice cracked and choked up, carrying the crushing weight of heartbreak and fury from my past life. In this moment, his eyes darted around like a trapped rat, refusing to meet my piercing gaze. You didn't utter a single damn word. Not only did you fail to stand up for your own mother, you actively conspired with your wife to exploit me, pressuring me to slave away at a night janitor job for a measly 3,000 yuan a month, just to settle your fabricated imaginary debts. You were even salivating over my future pension, plotting to trade my blood, sweat, and tears for a shiny new car and a luxury vacation to Europe. Lin Waiye, did you feed your goddamn conscience to the dogs? The neighbors' stares instantly curdled into pure contempt and disgust as they began pointing and whispering in outrage. Good God, this is beyond twisted. Tracking a 0.8 yuan dumpling? That's sick. Is this guy even human? The poor woman raised his child and surrendered her pension, only to be treated like garbage in the end. Absolutely heartless and ungrateful trash. I've never seen anyone scheme against their own elder like this. What a disgrace to the family name. Wang Li's face flushed from a guilty red to a ghostly white, shattered by the weight of public humiliation. She shrieked like a banshee. Everyone shut your mouths. This is private family business. None of you have any right to interfere. It's a family matter, don't you get it? You are Lin Waiye's biological mother, which makes you my mother-in-law by law. Isn't it your duty to babysit and pay your way? If you don't fork over your pension to us, who else would you give it to? When you're old and rotting in a bed later, won't you be crawling to our son for care? What's so wrong with demanding a little hustle and cash now? Aren't you supposed to sacrifice everything selflessly? Selfless sacrifice is expected of me. I physically trembled at her mind-blowing, shameless logic. But beneath the shock, a cold diamond-hard resolve took hold. Wang Lin Waiye, listen up. Listen to me and listen well. The second you slapped that 50-50 bill onto the table, the word duty died between us forever. I don't expect a single shred of care from you in my old age. I'll just live the rest of my life pretending I never birthed this son. Whether I live or die from this day forward is none of your concern. As for my pension money, you won't see another single cent as long as I breathe. I'm going to live life on my own terms now. Now vacate my property this instant, or don't act surprised when things get ugly. Right on cue, the property manager appeared with 2 burly security guards, storming up the stairwell. What's the meaning of this commotion? Who's responsible for all this racket? I immediately leveled a finger at Lin Waiye and Wang Li. Manager, these 2 individuals are total strangers to me. They're trespassing and harassing me at my own door, shattering the peace and quiet of the entire neighborhood. Kindly escort them off the premises. Lin Waiye descended into a panic, desperately shoving the guards aside. To reach Wang Li, what do you mean, not family? I'm literally her biological son. This is just a domestic dispute. Mom, enough with the dramatics. Let's go inside so we can settle this like adults. The baby is miserable and needs you to watch him. The entire household is falling apart without you. Hand over your pension card first. The mortgage is actually going into default this month. Settle this. You still have the audacity to scheme for my pension? The fury and humiliation bottled up across 2 lifetimes erupted with nuclear force in that very moment. I suddenly hoisted my palm, channeling every ounce of resentment into my arm. Crack, a deafening explosive sound. I delivered a brutal slap across Lin Waiye's face. He stood there paralyzed, clutching his burning cheek and staring at me in pure shock. Crack, crack. I followed through with 2 more merciless strikes. Ah, Wang Li let out a blood-curdling shriek. I shook my throbbing numb hand, staring down at Lin Waiye's instantly bruising face. Every word that left my lips was ice-cold and lethal. These 3 strikes are for your failure as a man, for being a heartless, unfilial disgrace, for conspiring to bully your own mother, and for being an ungrateful, biting dog. Lin Waiye, as of this second, I have no son. Now get the hell out of my sight. You, how dare you lay a finger on my husband? You old witch, I'm going to end you. Wang Li lunged forward like a rabid animal, baring her claws to pounce and violently shove me. I was more than ready for her. I nimbly dodged to the side, and simultaneously delivered a fierce backhanded slap right across her lunging, twisted face. Whack! It echoed even louder than the one I gave Lin Waiye. Wang Li saw stars from my strike and nearly keeled over. He hauled me back toward the mangled Sylphie. Vivid finger marks immediately began to flare up. You struck me. You actually dared to lay a hand on me. I'm hitting the exact person who deserves it. Everyone observe closely. And property management security, mark my words. The surveillance is recording every single detail. I pointed at the new minicam I'd rigged above the door. She's the one who initiated the assault by shoving me. This is textbook legitimate self-defense. For a creature like this, utterly disrespectful to elders, vicious to the core, and physically assaulting a senior. A single slap is showing extreme mercy. Lin Huaye and Wang Li finally looked up, paralyzed with terror. They saw the camera blinking with a cold red light, and their complexions instantly turned pale as a ghost. Their previous arrogant posturing, the shoving, and the vile insults had all been captured. No, Mom, please. You can't possibly do this. We're supposed to be family. Lin Huaye desperately tried to salvage the wreckage, his voice vibrating with pure panic. Who exactly do you think is family with you? Take your precious wife and vanish. Property management, get over here. Please escort these trespassers away. If they don't clear out this instant, I'm dialing the police immediately to report them for targeted harassment, vicious slander, and malicious intent to cause harm. Furthermore, I'll be taking this damning footage straight to both of their workplaces and having a very public chat with their bosses. I'll let the world judge for themselves whether toxic people with this kind of character even deserve to hold their current positions. This ultimatum hit them exactly where it hurts most. Lin Huaye and Wang Li were both obsessed with their social status and prioritized their careers above everything else. Especially that snake Wang Li, who spent every waking moment crafting an elegant white-collar facade. If this scandal reached her office, both of their futures would be utterly incinerated. The color completely drained from their pathetic faces, and the gazes they leveled at me were dripping with resentment, sheer terror, and a flicker of utter disbelief. They never imagined in their wildest dreams that I, the woman who had always been submissive and a total pushover, would ever be this ruthless and decisive, let alone come armed with evidence. Fine. You've really got no heart. Let's get out of here. Lin Huaye hissed the words through gritted teeth, his eyes smoldering with hidden malice. Wang Li opened her mouth to spew more venom, but Lin Huaye nearly crushed her arm with his grip. I'm telling you right now, this is far from over. He spun back to glare at me with a fierce intensity, his eyes looking as if they were laced with poison. What are you staring at? Beat it, or are you waiting for me to drag the cops here? I stared him down without flinching an inch. Finally, at long last, under the stern pressure of the manager and the security team, amidst the neighbors' blatant looks of pure contempt and their relentless finger-pointing, Lin Huaye and Wang Li, scurrying like two stray dogs, dejected and broken, and utterly humiliated, were dragged out of the hallway. I slammed the door shut, leaned my weight against the cold door panel, and slowly exhaled a heavy breath of toxic air that had been trapped in my lungs for far too long. I knew this war was only in its opening act. Vultures like them wouldn't retreat that easily. But I am no longer paralyzed by fear. From the second I was reborn, I ceased to be that obedient, powerless mother and mother-in-law they once knew. My hard-earned pension, my own house, and the remaining years of my life are all under my command. After Wang Li and Lin Huaye were publicly shamed and evicted, they remained quiet for barely 48 hours before a much more sinister scheme was unleashed. First, the family group chat suddenly went nuclear. Great uncle tagged me in the group. Shufeng, what is the meaning of this? Xiao Wei's wife claims you embezzled their savings and ditched your own grandson just to go on a spree. This behavior is absolutely disgraceful. A family needs to settle their disputes with dignity. Next, my female cousin, then my cousin-in-law, and a horde of distant relatives I haven't spoken to in years, all crawled out of the woodwork. Their tones fluctuated between saintly advice and blatant accusations. Sister-in-law Lily is just young and impulsive. As the elder, you need to show some grace and patience. It's honestly pathetic to cause such a public scene. Fang Xiaowei is your own flesh and blood, and that boy is your true biological grandson. You can't just sever blood ties like this. Hurry back and fix the mess you left them in. I heard they're on the brink of losing their home. How can a mother truly be so petty toward her own kids? Absconding with the family's savings. To go on a vacation, do you have any idea how that looks? Over 100 toxic messages flashed across my screen. Nearly every single one gaslighting me into being magnanimous and forcing me back into my role as their household slave. Then the very next morning, my younger cousin and his wife from down the road, flanked by an insufferably concerned distant aunt, ambushed me right at my front door. My cousin began his lecture with a look of fake sincerity. Just look at how much you're torturing those kids. Xiao Wei was literally sobbing on the phone begging for forgiveness. Lily messed up, sure, so just give her a stern talking to. You can't seriously just abandon your family like this. Xu Feng, your husband, is long gone. This son is the only thing you have left in this world. If you turn your back on him, who else does he have? Who's going to wait on you when you're old and frail? If you burn these bridges now, you'll be drowning in regret once you're bedridden and alone. I stared at their, I'm only doing this for your sake, and warrior of justice facades, sneering at the sheer hypocrisy in my heart. Wang Li's talent for gaslighting, twisting the truth, and playing the tragic victim is truly world-class. I didn't waste a single breath arguing. I waited patiently for their self-righteous rant to end, then slowly hoisted my phone for them to see. Since everyone is so deeply invested in my life, I'm going to let the whole world see clearly, precisely who is being the unreasonable monster here, and who has forfeited their right to be called human. I pulled up WeChat right under their noses, located the family group chat, and unleashed several file packages I'd curated for this moment. The damning audio clips, and the high-def hallway surveillance footage, and that high-definition damning photo of the infamous zero point 0.8 yuan dumpling bill. I unleashed it all in one decisive strike. After broadcasting it to the entire family group, I synced the evidence to my social feed as well, setting the privacy to visible to everyone. Facts speak far louder than their lies. I have a clear conscience. Message sent. The living room was plunged into an instant heavy silence. My cousin and aunt exchanged stunned glances, subconsciously fumbling for their phones to verify. Only a few heartbeats later, my cousin's entire expression shifted. His thumb swiped frantically across the screen, subjected to the toxic audio of Wang Li's malicious 50-50 split and that zero point 0.8 yuan dumpling. My aunt was equally paralyzed, her mouth agape for an eternity, completely speechless. Within the family group chat, it was as if a massive depth charge had been detonated. After a moment of eerie silence, the chat absolutely boiled over. Good heavens, Eurydice. Can this actually be real? She seriously billed her mother-in-law for a 0.8 yuan dumpling. Just listen to the venom dripping from this woman's mouth. If you don't fork over your pension, who else would you give it to? Is that even human speech? She actually had the audacity to shove an elder, and Lin Huaye just stood there like a spineless spectator. Is this truly the Xiaowei I once knew? Big sister has been enduring such horrific grievances. Ugh, enough already. It's truly soul-crushing. We were all played like fools by Wang Li. She actually had the gall to play the victim in this group. No wonder Sister Xufeng has turned so ice-cold. I'd have vanished into thin air too if I were her. This son and daughter-in-law are worse than leeches. The relatives who were just preaching generosity and accusing me performed a 180-degree flip in their attitude. They were suddenly fueled by righteous indignation, tagging Lin Huaye and Wang Li with a relentless barrage of insults. My cousin standing at my door was now flushed with shame. He tucked his phone away, looking so awkward he didn't know where to put his hands. I'm so sorry, we had no idea the situation was this vile. Wang Li is a master of deception. Xufeng, how can a person be this pathologically stingy, calculating even a measly 0.8 yuan dumpling? And Xiaowei didn't utter a single word of protest. This is beyond the pale and absolutely unacceptable. Exactly. We have to set the record straight immediately. Now that the truth is out in the open, the exit is right there. Good riddance. The two of them scrambled out like they'd been granted a reprieve, slinking away in pure unadulterated shame. I knew that after this single exposure, within our entire family circle, Lin Huaye and Wang Li's reputations were officially incinerated. No one would ever dare to advocate for them again. They can forget about using blood ties to guilt-trip me ever again. However, as fate would have it, I underestimated Wang Li's scorched earth depravity and her sheer stupidity. A few days after the group chat scandal, a wall of text arrived from an unknown number, dripping with venomous threats. Listen closely. Hand over that pension card this instant, and get your ass back here to raise your grandson. Wipe all that digital trash off your social feed and the family group, then issue a groveling public apology to us. I stared at the screen, practically visualizing Wang Li's face contorted with toxic jealousy and bitter resentment. I shot back 2 words sharp and cold: keep dreaming. Those 2 words completely unleashed Wang Li's inner demon. She actually went as far as creating a burner account on TikTok and uploaded a tear-jerking long-form video constructed entirely of blatant lies and slander. In the clip, she intentionally applied haggard, sickly makeup, her eyes staged a swollen red, her voice trembling with fake emotion. She cast herself as the tragic young wife tormented by a wicked mother-in-law, slaving away for her home only to be backstabbed. My mother-in-law swore she'd help with the baby, and we were beyond appreciative. We treated her to the finest food and comforts, yet all she did was whine about fatigue. She ignited constant drama within our home, and to top it off, she actually embezzled our critical mortgage savings, just to bankroll her glamorous Sonya getaway. She abandoned us, a struggling young couple, to drown in a massive mortgage and a crying toddler, leaving us with absolutely no way out. She sobbed like a wilting flower in the rain. We're just simple blue-collar workers. We truly can't endure this pressure much longer. I'm begging the internet to help us and knock some sense into my heartless mother-in-law. Tell her to fork over our money. At the very least, come back and deal with this kid. She accidentally leaked my surname, my approximate age, my former place of employment, and even the general neighborhood where I reside. With her meticulously woven fabric of lies, paired with her deceptive Oscar-worthy performance, she instantly triggered the netizens' warped sense of justice. The algorithm pushed the video aggressively to local users. Likes, shares, and vitriolic comments skyrocketed, quickly dominating the local trending charts. This is beyond repulsive. Using her old age as a free pass to be a complete monster. Embezzling her kids' mortgage money for a getaway. A mother-in-law this toxic deserves to rot. By the next morning, my front door was defaced with crimson paint and plastered with sticky notes dripping with insults. On the third day of the onslaught, someone actually delivered a white funeral wreath and strategically placed it in the hallway. A barrage of malicious calls and texts bombarded my new number. The comment sections on my social media became a toxic wasteland. I stood before my vandalized entrance, my heart as cold as tempered iron. Yet my hands remained perfectly steady. First, I contacted the authorities. I laid out the situation with surgical precision, handing over the threatening messages and the TikTok video link as concrete evidence, officially charging Wang Li with defamation, invasion of personal privacy, and inciting a targeted cyber lynching. Then I logged into my long dormant, real name verified short video profile. I didn't wail like a wounded animal. I didn't play the victim card. I simply compiled the evidence I dropped on the family. Group chat earlier, the ultimate receipt pack of audio recordings, surveillance footage, and Bills re-edited them, slapped on short punchy captions, watermarked the timeline, and hit publish. The title was hauntingly simple: a response to a certain daughter-in-law's slander, the cold hard truth. Simultaneously, I publicly announced the police report and the submission of this evidence to the law. The impact of the truth is devastating, especially when the star of the original melodrama suddenly presents a diametrically opposed and evidence-backed narrative. My rebuttal was like a boulder crashing into a cesspool, instantly triggering a far more violent storm of public outrage. The netizens who were previously brainwashed and manipulated realized they'd been played for fools. A massive surge of betrayal and fury caused them to flip the script and lock their sights on the couple. Good God, look at this plot twist. 0.8 Wien dumplings slaving over the grandkid surrendering her whole pension, and she still got hit with a bill. This daughter-in-law is a straight-up Oscar-winning actress. Her performance was way too convincing. She actually tried to use us netizens as her personal hit squad. Look at the evidence on this bill. Listen to the venom in this recording. This woman wasn't treated like a mother-in-law. She was a slave being bled dry by vampires. Team Auntie all the way. Auntie handled this perfectly. You absolutely need to ghost a son and daughter-in-law like that. We doxed the wrong target, honestly. The ones who deserve the heat are that ungrateful couple. Reported the original video for fake news. Formal report letter drafted. Firing it off to their employers as we speak. The public backlash was swift and total. Wang Li and Lin Wei's personal info was leaked online. Their workplaces, job titles, phone numbers, and even photos were unearthed. Countless netizens swarmed their social media to flame them and blew their phones up with relentless notifications. Even more furious netizens drafted joint petitions and flooded the disciplinary boards, HR department, and supervisors' inboxes of both their firms. Some extremists even tracked down their current address, piling rotten vegetables at their doorstep and hurling putrid eggs and filth. Under this crushing pressure, Wang Li and Lin Wei's employers finally hit their breaking point. In an effort to silence the public roar and salvage their corporate reputation, both were dragged into their bosses' offices for emergency talks. Then, citing severe violations of the company's code of conduct and a catastrophic negative impact on the brand, both were summarily terminated. With their careers dead and their income zeroed out, their mortgage payments ground to a halt. The bank initiated collections and the house spiraled into foreclosure. Their delusional dreams of new cars and European luxury dissolved into a complete and utter nightmare, and they were buried under a mountain of debt. When poverty storms in through the door, love vanishes out the window. Especially for a couple this fundamentally selfish and cold-hearted. They descended into a cycle of incessant toxic fighting, viciously pointing fingers at one another. Both were convinced the other was the mastermind behind the split, the one who sabotaged their entire lives, and triggered this current unmitigated disaster. The friction escalated from screaming matches to shoving, and eventually erupted into full-blown physical brawls. A single day later, my son was kneeling before my doorstep clutching my grandson. My son's hair was a disheveled mess, tears and snot streaming down his pathetic face. He wailed, "Mom, I'm begging you, open the door." I finally realized how horribly wrong I was. I should never have let Wang Li poison my mind into forcing that 50-50 split on you. I've already given her a severe lashing, Mom. We've truly turned over a new leaf this time. Please, for the sake of your own grandson, forgive us. The child can't possibly grow up without a grandmother. His voice was shrill, desperate, and utterly pathetic, luring the neighbors to peek out and witness the drama once again. The grandson was squirming from being gripped far too tight and was wailing at the top of his lungs. I stood behind the door, my heart as still as stagnant water. This belated repentance was nothing but a carefully orchestrated hollow sob story. it was only because the crushing weight of the digital backlash had stripped them of their careers and their entire source of income. With absolutely nowhere left to turn, they were desperate to seize me as their final life-saving straw. What they were acknowledging wasn't their cruelty, but the reality of their own dead-end situation. I refused to open the door, simply projecting my voice coldly through the door crack. Lin Wei, I told you once before. The very second you handed me that itemized bill, my son ceased to exist. Take your child and vanish. Stop performing this pathetic theater at my doorstep. When Wang Li was weaponizing lies online and inciting a mob to hunt me down, where was your concern for me being your mother then? Now that the evidence is undeniable and public, I have already filed a formal report with the authorities. The law will serve you exactly what you've earned. Now vacate the premises immediately, or I'm calling the police to report your harassment. The pathetic wailing outside ceased instantly, replaced by the shrill, desperate screech of Wang Li. She had been lurking there the whole time, skulking around the corner of the stairwell like a shadow. Mom, mother-in-law, please. I've seen the light. I'll kowtow until I bleed. She actually collapsed to her knees with a heavy thud, slamming her forehead against the freezing floor with a series of rhythmic, sickening bangs. Her voice was trembling with a brand of terror I had never heard. I was possessed by sheer greed. I was spewing nothing but delusional lies. Please withdraw the lawsuit. I'm literally begging you to drop the charges. We're supposed to be family. You can't be this ruthless and just watch us perish. Family. I let out a sharp sneer when you were eyeing my pension and billing me for a measly 0.8 yuan dumpling. Did the word family even cross your mind? When you fabricated those fairy tales online to bait a mob into vandalizing my home with funeral wreaths, was family part of your twisted logic? Now you finally understand the meaning of fear? Too little too late. I tuned out the renewed sobbing, the groveling, and even the predictable turn toward curses. I dialed property management and the local precinct. Without hesitation, Wang Li's defamation and cyber terrorism had left behind an undeniable paper trail of malicious, calculated intent. Even though she scrambled to scrub the video and went on a desperate apology tour for a settlement, once the gears of justice began to grind, the outcome was no longer hers to manipulate. In the end, the court handed her a 1-year prison sentence, suspended with a 2-year probation period. This cold, hard verdict utterly obliterated their fantasy of using family drama to camouflage the facts and evade the consequences. The morning after the final judgment was delivered, I reached out to a real estate agent and offloaded the old house in a flash sale. With just a few bags and a soul brimming with total liberation, I headed far away to the landscapes of Yunnan. In a serene little town nestled by Kangshan and Erhai Lake, I purchased a charming home with a private courtyard. I spent my days gardening and pampering a gentle cat. Surrounded by the kind-hearted local women, I mastered the art of making traditional snacks. My life finally became as tranquil as a mountain stream. Lin Wei and Wang Li clearly hadn't learned their lesson. They scrambled, exhausting every desperate measure, even tracking down the temporary burner number I had used upon my arrival in Yunnan. Initially, it was a relentless deluge of texts and calls. Adopting a nauseatingly sincere tone, they feigned deep repentance, vowed to change, and weaponized my grandson's future as a guilt trip. I expressionlessly blacklisted them one after another. Once they realized their good cop routine was failing miserably, their civilized masks finally shattered into pieces. Messages from a stream of unknown numbers were now saturated with venom in every single syllable. Vicious insults, horrific curses, and savage death threats, unleashing the darkest, most putrid resentment in their hearts. I calmly extracted that SIM card, snapped it between my fingers, and discarded it in the trash. I secured a brand new private number, and this time I didn't breathe a word of it to a single soul from my past. I completely amputated that history of manipulation, betrayal, and toxic violence from my life, until a few agonizing days later, when the police reached out to me. Am I speaking with Miss Li Shufang? This is the Xiong'an District Public Security Bureau calling. Your son Lin Wei has been detained, is the primary suspect in an intentional injury resulting in death. Furthermore, they have left behind a minor child, who is currently being monitored by the neighbors. You are the child's sole remaining paternal relative. Regarding this, it turns out that following my departure, Wang Li and my son were both rotting at home unemployed. They were forced to rent a hovel in a derelict urban village. Their failed attempt to use a 50-50 split to exploit my labor and siphon my pension had caused such a catastrophic public scandal that their reputations were permanently scorched. They were blacklisted from any decent employment, leaving them with nothing to do but project their failures onto each other, which frequently spiraled into brutal physical altercations. Finally, during a heavy drinking session, the two engaged in a final violent confrontation. A neighbor witnessed the horror and alerted the authorities. My son was intercepted by officers while attempting a desperate escape. Now only my young grandson remained alone in that house. I gripped the phone tightly, my voice remaining eerily calm and steady, as if I were discussing a stranger's misfortune. Officer, please tell me, Lin Wei and I have already legally severed our mother-son ties. There are audio recordings and official police records to prove it. Furthermore, I am aging, physically frail, and plagued by illness. I possess neither the strength nor the desire to raise this child. I've already reared one ungrateful wolf masquerading as a son, and I refuse to gamble on corrupted human nature a second time. As for the child's future upbringing, please adhere strictly to legal regulations, or surrender him to the care of social welfare institutions. The officer on the other end of the line was stunned into silence, clearly recalling the infamy of that previous incident. He let out a heavy sigh. Understood. We'll take it from here. Ultimately, the grandson I had slaved over for 3 long years was eventually taken in by relatives on his mother's side. I have no idea if he will uncover the dark truth in the future, or if he will grow up harboring a deep hatred for me. But I know this was the most pragmatic and responsible path, both for his sake and for my own survival. Remaining with parents of that caliber, or staying with a grandmother like me who carries a bitter grudge and can no longer offer her soul as a sacrifice, his future would never have been truly bright. The final hammer of justice fell shortly after. Lin Wei, for the charge of intentional injury resulting in death, under extremely aggravating circumstances, was ultimately handed a sentence of life imprisonment and stripped of all political rights for the rest of his days. The dust has finally mercifully settled. I have locked those ancient toxic grudges into the most unreachable corner of my heart, never to be spoken of again. The courtyard is bathed in sunshine, and the flowers I've nurtured are blooming in a brilliant explosion of color. The cat lazily rubs against my ankles, vibrating with a contented purr. I lift my watering can and slowly nourish the blossoms. The past is dead and buried, and the future ahead is tranquil and vast. This time, I am finally living solely for myself.